I'm Jeffrey Kaplan, and I'm Assistant Professor of Philosophy at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro. I grew up in Paramus, New Jersey, which is a suburb of New York, and it is suburban New Jersey. And so it was a very nice place to grow up. Both of my parents, on and off, worked either in Manhattan or at various other businesses in New York City or Bergen County. My father had to go into Manhattan 2 days a week to go to showrooms to look at women's dresses. He was a dress buyer for clothing companies. My mother originally worked in Jersey City in an office building. She worked for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. And sometime before September 11th, she transferred offices within the same organization, and then she was working in the World Trade Center. On the morning of September 11th, I remember I was going into gym class in the morning in this new big public high school that I had started attending, and I didn't know anyone. And I was going into the locker rooms before gym class, and someone said that a helicopter had crashed into the Twin Towers. Nothing really registered with me as that being a significant event, and my high school biology teacher was crying, was trying to get in contact with her father, and she hadn't been able to get in contact with him. And then it occurred to me that I should be worried about at least one of my parents, and I was mostly worried about my father, and I was thinking, oh, he works in Manhattan a few days a week. Is this one of the days a week when he might be in Manhattan? And I don't remember much else from that day until I got home from school, and everyone was at the house. Like there were a million cars parked outside, and all my uncles and aunts and relatives and grandparents were at the house, and my father was there, but my mother wasn't. She worked in the North Tower on the 64th floor, and after, I believe, the first plane hit, she called my grandmother, her mother, in New Jersey to tell her everything was fine. Everyone was then obviously very worried when the towers collapsed, not knowing whether she had gotten out of the building in between the time that she made that phone call and when they collapsed. And so there was a period of when we didn't know what had happened. It was just a slow dawning of the reality, just over the course of the next several days or even weeks, that the longer we went without getting a phone call, the less likely it was that she had gotten out of the building before it collapsed. I remember lying in my bed at home, being awake at night, and just running through every significant philosophical question about death. All of a sudden, questions like, do human beings have a soul? And is her consciousness somewhere continuing to exist? I'm now a philosophy professor, and so I'm still thinking about those questions as a very straightforward, direct result of thinking about them on September 11th or September 12th or whenever it was when I couldn't fall asleep. I don't think about what September 11th means. I think about my mother and what her life and death meant to me and my siblings and my father and grandparents and that sort of thing. And she was an extremely, extremely loving mother, very good at mathematics, handled all the finances for the household, but also very, very willing to explain things in detail. And so, as a child, if you asked her a question, she didn't give brief answers. Her answers were thorough. She was very intellectual and thoughtful. And, as a kid, you'd find books in the basement, parenting books, personal finance books. She was well-read, but more than that, she was just very thoughtful, and she wanted us to be very thoughtful. And I don't think about it enough, or I don't appreciate enough that way that I am to my own kids. And my daughter, Deborah Sadie Kaplan, who we call Dee Dee, is named Deborah after my mother, even though there are surely no other Deborahs born in 2018. As she gets older, when you're older than 3, you can hear stories and be told about your relatives, and so she will know all about my mother, her Bubby, her grandmother, and she'll always have that connection.